Hi guys, welcome to this channel and this is Kavipriya. In this lecture video, we'll see the introduction to blockchain. Okay, the agenda of this video, in this video we'll see what is blockchain technology, an overview of centralized, decentralized and distributed computing, features of blockchain. Okay. Before knowing what is meant by blockchain, let us understand what is meant by a block. A block is basically dropping our data into the box and locking it and writing to whom we need to give that block. Thus packing information is a block. So this box will contain the link of the address and next box link. So thus in the way connecting several blocks is known as a blockchain. This is okay, but if you ask me to explain in a technical terms, there is a database which contains. So look at this picture. There is a database and it contains a table in it. The table we store the data. The store it can in date the table we can store the data. It's stored only at one system at a place, or else it will be stored as a distributed system in two or more system, but same data will be replicated. But in blockchain it will be stored in any place and also stored with anyone, but only the person who can retrieve stored information. So this is the advantages of blockchain. Next we will see the definition of a blockchain. So blockchain is a digital, decentralized, distributed public ledger database where blocks are linked cryptographically and transactions are digitally signed and managed using consensus model. Okay. Look at this picture. You can see the blocks are connected together in a chain manner. So the each block consists of data hash and the previous hash. Okay, let's divide the word block into two parts. One is a block and another one is a chain. So block is a set of transaction that happens over the network, and the chain is where blocks are linked to each other in a way that next blocks contains the hash of a previous block. Okay, what is a hash? So hash is a digital fingerprint. It is in the form of alphanumeric, that is the combination of alphabets and numbers. So each block contains hash and previous hash. In the block, it does not have previous hash, so we can call the first block as a genesis block. So each block consists of a hash and a previous hash. In the first block, it does not have any previous hash, so that's why we call this first block as a genesis block. So even a small change in the previous block can change its hash and break the whole chain. It can make it difficult to tamper the data. So blockchain is simply a data structure where each block is linked to another block in a timestamp chronological order. It is distributed digital ledger of immutable public record of digital transactions. Immutable, it means that once the data has been created, we cannot alter the data. So every new record is validated across the distributed network before it is stored in a block. So we'll use consensus algorithm to validate the uh, transaction. So all the information once stored on a ledger is verifiable and auditable, and it cannot be editable. That's why we call it as it is immutable, and each block is identified by its cryptographic signature. Here we use this cryptographic algorithm, and the digital signature, as I told you, we'll use this hash, and every block is interconnected, that is linked together, and every block consists of a data hash and a previous hash. In the first block we does not have this previous hash, that's why we call it as a genesis block. That the first block of the blockchain is also known as the genesis block. An overview of centralized, decentralized and a distributed system. So the blockchain network that has a centralized computing, decentralized and distributed system, and we have already seen that blockchain is a decentralized and distributed computing. But what is basically the difference between three terminology still needs to be understood. So the first image which is focusing over here is centralized. Every nodes there are every nodes that are different computers and that are connected to the central node, that is the central server. We can also call it as a central server, and all others are the nodes. So the complete computation depends upon the central server, that is known as the centralized computing. If anything goes wrong in the central server, everything goes wrong. So all the nodes are connected with central computer. They are dependent on the central server. So it is like a client server architecture. So we can say that as there is a single organization which is having control of the entire system, that is centralized computing or a network. If we see to this decentralized network, that we can observe by looking the figure, it is that there are more than one central servers instead of one central server, and the node can communicate to another central server nodes. So even if one central server phase fails, the work can be done by another central server. So it is known as decentralized computing, where there are more than one central server and many servers are connected together. It makes the decentralized architecture. Okay. Now what is the difference between the centralized and distributed? So look at this image. Looking at the image, we can clearly, it shows that in distributed, there are different nodes are connected with themselves in each other. So that is a peer-to-peer network, which is there is a blockchain. Nodes are connected with each other and they can communicate with each other to solve a task in distributed computing. So in simple terms, centralized computing is a standalone place, decentralized, which consists of different servers at the same geographical location. In distributed computing, the geographical location may vary. One server at one place and another node is another place, but there is more than one geographical locations are involved in distributed computing. Okay, look at this look at this picture. Three pictures are there, that is centralized, decentralized and distributed system. In the centralized system, as I told you, there is one central server and many nodes are connected together, and nodes, it can be a computer. In the central server, it is a master and another nodes are the slaves. In the decentralized system, we have multiple servers which are interconnected together. Even if one central server fails, and the work could be taken over by the other servers. So in the distributed system, all the nodes are connected and which is interlinked to each other and just interlinked together. So this is the difference between centralized, decentralized and distributed computing. So the first we'll see the centralized. So all the systems are connected to a central computer or a server. There is a single owner, and the single owner has the full control and will monitor the full entire network. So more prone to attack. So if the central server fails, no, it will affect the all other node which is connected to it. So the third party involvement is present here, and it is easy to implement, and it consists of a vertical scaling, and it is a client server architecture. Whereas in a decentralized server network, there are multiple central servers. There is no point of single owner and no point of failure. So the data is replicated on different central servers. Even if one central server fails, the user can access the data from another server. So the point is that no single control means, it means that decentralized. And next is distributed. The all nodes here are masters. So here no control of anyone all have equal rights. The computation is distributed across the components, and each node interact with each other by message passing. And as I told you, it is a peer-to-peer network, and it is geographically distributed. So all the it is the distributed computing. The geographical location may vary from one server is at one place and another node is at another place, where it is more than one geographical locations are involved in the distributed computing. Okay, next. Okay, here we'll see the features of blockchain. So these are some of the features of blockchain, that is immutability, distributed ledgers, decentralized consensus algorithm, enhanced security, and it is the faster. So what is immutability is, once the data is created, we cannot alter the data. So no, someone cannot change the content. So once the data or information is recorded within the blockchain, it cannot be altered or it cannot be changed. So next comes the distributed ledgers. As I already told you, it is a peer-to-peer network. It shares the distributed ledgers, and it becomes the decentralized because all the nodes are interconnected together. And next is decentralized. So decentralized is, there is no single point of contact. It has multiple servers which is interlinked together, and even if a single centralized server fails, the another centralized server will take care of that, so that replicated data are being copied. So decentralized in nature, meaning that no single person or group holds the authority of overall network. Next is consensus algorithm. So it means that the agreement of majority of nodes on a blockchain network to validate the transaction of block of a transaction. So it means it is the decision making process. So it uses the decision making process of a transaction for the group of nodes active on the network. Next is the it is faster, since it uses the traditional banking system is very quite low. It does not use any traditional, so because it works on the distributed and decentralized computing, it is faster, and it has enhanced security. There are two types of key cryptography. As we use this cryptographic algorithm, it is more secure, and there are two cryptographic keys we'll use here, that is symmetric key cryptography and asymmetric key cryptography. So symmetric cryptography is a public key is used, the same key is used for encryption and decryption, and asymmetric key is they use two keys, that is a public and a private key. So this is about the introduction to blockchain. So we have seen the definition for blockchain and what is a block, an overview of centralized, decentralized and distributed computing, and some features of a blockchain. And I hope you have understood this lecture, and if you have doubts you can ask in the comments. In another video we'll see the further concepts of blockchain, and next video we'll see the history of blockchain. Thank you.